Looking at these images, do you know what I'm thinking of? Exactly. A boss from some mafia gang we see in the movies. But this gentleman is just an ordinary football coach. Yet, he's truly formidable. Remarkable for what he has achieved in the history of world football up to now. In an era where young strategists are rising as a force, there is still a man with silver hair making waves every day. He doesn't appear outdated or inferior to those much younger opponents. Everywhere he goes, trophies follow. Just look at the 4 Champions League trophies. Or more precisely, 6 titles if you count his time as a player. Impressive, right? Terrifying, isn't it? This mafia-like man is none other than Carlo Ancelotti. Follow along to see how this gentleman has managed to dominate across Europe. Let's hop on the time machine and go back to 1959, the beginning of it all. The boy Carlo Ancelotti was born and raised in a farming family, and the diligence inherent in a farmer's life shaped Carletto with immense patience and perseverance. Carlo Ancelotti shared his motivation for success with these words: "You plant a tree today, you will reap the fruits in 1 or 2 years." That's my philosophy for football as well as my lifestyle. Don't worry too much about the results when you start something. If you do everything right, the rewards will come. Carlo Ancelotti was brought to Parma at the age of 15. Initially, he was positioned as a central forward, later moved to the wing. Despite not having exceptional speed, his technical skills and superb tactical awareness helped him adapt quite well. His next destination was AS Roma at the age of 20. He truly impressed the coach at that time, Niels Lidholm. His 8 years at Roma provided a significant boost to his career and made his name more widely known. During his time there, he helped the Rome team secure 4 Coppa Italia titles and the second Scudetto in the club's history. Even reaching the Champions League final in 1984, they unfortunately lost to Liverpool on penalties. Amidst that success, Carlo Ancelotti paid the price with a knee injury, which forced him to transition to a playmaking midfielder role, where he excelled even more. The midfielder, born in 1959, was then brought to AC Milan by Arrigo Sacchi. At that time, the Rossoneri truly had a dream team with the likes of Marco van Basten, Ruud Gullit, Frank Rijkaard, Franco Baresi, and Paolo Maldini. Under the leadership of Italian Prime Minister Berlusconi, they were simply unstoppable. In just 5 seasons, Ancelotti added 2 more Champions League titles and 2 Serie A titles to his collection. Then, at the age of 33, the Italian player decided to retire from all competitions, stopping here for now. But the greatness I mentioned at the beginning of this piece is just about to begin. After retiring, Carlo Ancelotti quickly transitioned into a coaching career. He chose the Italian national team as his starting point, serving as an assistant to coach Arrigo Sacchi before going solo at the age of 36. The genius mind of Carlo Ancelotti is considered a blend of various philosophies, having worked with many renowned strategists. Prior to this, we had Niels Lidholm and Arrigo Sacchi. Additionally, there was Fabio Capello when he played for AC Milan, and Sven-Göran Eriksson at AS Roma. Moreover, Carlo deeply understands player psychology, enabling him to manage the locker room effectively. The Italian strategist once stated that he understands top players do not need much motivation or encouragement under pressure. Instead, keeping them calm is more important. This empathy comes from his own experience as a top-tier player. Carlo Ancelotti began his solo managerial journey by leading Regina. He truly succeeded in helping the team gain promotion to Serie A. Recognizing Carletto's potential, Parma recruited him again with their ambitious goals. This time, Ancelotti was positioned on the sidelines as the coach. Let me tell you, Parma was a formidable force in Serie A at that time, boasting stars like Gianfranco Zola, Hernan Crespo, Gianluigi Buffon, and Lilian Thuram. Despite their impressive squad, the club had never won a Scudetto in its history. It was perhaps a bit disappointing for Ancelotti when Parma finished second to Juventus in his first season. The following season wasn't much better, with the team slipping to 6th place. For a young coach, these results could be seen positively, as they provided many lessons for Ancelotti. He might have been skilled in his coaching style and player management, but to keep his position, he needed to learn how to satisfy the club's owners. In the summer after a year of leading Parma, the club had the opportunity to sign Roberto Baggio, Italy's hottest player at the time. However, Ancelotti declined, deeply influenced by Arrigo Sacchi. He believed that the 4-4-2 formation was the ultimate strategy and felt he didn't need a number 10 like Baggio. That's also the reason why the star of the team at that time, Zola, left shortly after Ancelotti arrived for similar reasons. During that season, the Divine Ponytail scored 25 goals for Bologna, and Ancelotti admitted it was a mistake. He caused Parma to miss out on 25 goals and learned from that experience. In 1999, it was Juventus's turn to give the opportunity to the young strategist just turning 40. He arrived in the Old Lady of Turin. Ancelotti wasn't warmly welcomed. He was both a legend of two fierce rival teams, Roma and AC Milan, and was replacing the much-loved coach Marcello Lippi. Despite failing to help Juventus win Serie A in 2 seasons, finishing second by just 1 and 2 points in those respective seasons, at least Ancelotti showed flexibility by abandoning his favored 4-4-2 formation to give Zidane a free role behind the strikers. Later in his autobiography, published in 2016, Ancelotti himself also discussed changing Cristiano Ronaldo's position. Why should I avoid arguments? How can one change the position of a player who scored 60 goals in a season? I must find a solution. But at Juventus, you must achieve titles. Otherwise, you are still considered a failure. Carlo Ancelotti was dismissed at the end of the season, more cruelly when the dismissal was announced midway through a match, in the final game, when the team still had a chance to win the Scudetto. After his dismissal at Juventus, Ancelotti once again found himself on the red carpet. This time, his destination would be AC Milan. Thanks to his good relationship with Berlusconi, Ancelotti was entrusted with reviving Rossoneri, who finished 5th and 6th in the previous seasons. An interesting point about the quick reunion between Ancelotti and AC Milan was mentioned in the interview. It highlighted his management style in the dressing room, something that made Ancelotti attractive to bigger clubs. In an environment full of big egos, he demonstrated easy harmony and integration. As a coach at AC Milan, you not only work with players but also directly with the owner, Silvio Berlusconi. He wants to be involved in every aspect of the team, whether it's chatting during halftime or even choosing the lineup. Why not? He's the boss, and he's paying all these people after all. Besides, with players like Andrea Pirlo, Clarence Seedorf in his squad, Ancelotti clearly couldn't stick to that rigid 4-4-2 forever. He had to adapt. And so, a more creative variation of the 4-4-2 emerged. The narrow diamond 4-1-2-1-2 formation was born. This was the era when AC Milan became most renowned. The backbone of the team seemed like a legend. A rock-solid defense with Paolo Maldini and Alessandro Nesta. Midfield orchestrated by Andrea Pirlo, the finest midfield metronome of all time, complemented by traditional number 10 Rui Costa and later Kaká. Up top, we had Filippo Inzaghi alongside Shevchenko, reviving the Rossoneri, and the rest is history. A first season finishing a mediocre 4th, the next season 3rd. What a turnaround. But back then, AC Milan dominated in cup competitions, winning the Coppa Italia and even the Champions League. Pretty impressive, right? Their 3rd Serie A title. Here it is. Continuing the journey with AC Milan for another 5 years, Ancelotti witnessed many historic milestones. While they didn't add any more Scudetti, 2 Ballon d'Or awards went to Rossoneri players, Shevchenko in 2004 and Kaká in 2007, making it to the Champions League final twice in 2 years, including that magical night, magical with a twist, as it turned out to be a nightmare for AC Milan. But at least they got their revenge the following year. We talk a lot about AC Milan because this was an iconic period in Ancelotti's career and laid the foundation for later successes. Ending the glorious 2009 with AC Milan, Carlo Ancelotti continued his journey to other major clubs under influential owners. Carretto always knew how to ignite everything, as well as believing in his players. In his first year at Chelsea, Ancelotti completed the league double, ending Manchester United's dominance. He always knew how to foster unity with his players. After all, the team's success belongs to the collective, not to any individual. Paul Clement, Ancelotti's assistant, once recounted that just before the FA Cup final, Ancelotti asked the players, "This is the final match of the season. We know what we can do and we know our opponent. How do you think our tactics should be?" Even afterwards, players who worked with him like Toni Kroos, Philip Lahm, all say Ancelotti is very adept at listening and their opinions have always mattered to him. Ancelotti isn't someone who seeks to control excessively. He overlooks the ellipsis of time. At Napoli and Everton, everywhere he went, he achieved titles. A league title in Europe, another national championship, along with 4 domestic cups. Here is a list of coaches who have accomplished this. Carlo Ancelotti stands alone, a legend. And remember, in his current position, it's not quite over yet. Let's see just how formidable Carlo will become.